I haven't seen extreme fear in a while. I mean, we've seen fear several times and we've seen pretty poor sentiments in the markets. But extreme fear has been quite rare, if that rhymes. But here we are at 22 on the border of extreme fear. I think we've actually just averted going into extreme fear. I think we're going to now move towards neutral. In fact, there might be one big jump on Monday or Tuesday when inflows start coming into some of these crypto ETFs with a specific acknowledgement for our dear beloved XRP. And I think that XRP may actually lead the market back into the green over the next coming weeks. But when it comes to liquidations, there have been liquidations because of the price slump in crypto. As you can see, Ethereum is the most liquidated by quite a bit because Ethereum did crash quite a lot. Bitcoin coming in at number 2, others number 3, Zcash, Solana number 4. As you can see, XRP actually did pretty well. Obviously, because of the volumes of trading, XRP is relatively high compared to the others. It's still in the top liquidated tokens, but for two reasons. Obviously, people didn't sell as much XRP. Also, XRP didn't crash as much as the others because it's been lifted by the sentiment of, the whole sort of ETF approval, anticipation of pump, etc., plus better fundamentals. So XRP has done really, really well. Obviously, liquidations still happened, but not so much compared to Ethereum, which, man, was wiped out. And people are saying that the reason why, apart from obviously the bad news is coming out of, the data collection that's happening after the US markets open. And apparently it is usual for the market to slump every time the government reopens after a shutdown, probably because it represents some sort of compromise and more spending to be done, which means, a bad economy, etc., etc., etc. I'm not a professional or expert when it comes to that. I'm only just listening to what other people say in that particular respect. But the more direct one is that there's been a bit of an exodus from Bitcoin by whales that are selling, but it's not a sudden exodus according to these articles that I'm reading. This particular article references Glassnode. Analysts at Glassnode argue that the recent wave of Bitcoin whale sales is a typical part of a late stage crypto cycle when older hands take profits. So basically, it's saying that these whales are older hands. I've actually talked about this in a previous video as well. These are people who basically have bought Bitcoin long ago, are in really, really deep profit anyway. And some of them are starting to take profit because probably they think that we're nearing the end of this cycle. So these are OGs that believe in the 4-year cycle. And it kind of indicates that they also believe that the cycle is coming to an end and we're near the top or have seen the top. So, some whales believe this, but also some whales believe that the market has been extended, but also some whales believe that the market is different now, that the cycles have either been eradicated altogether or at least extended. So we are in some kind of super cycle or extended cycle. Okay. For instance, crypto market hasn't topped yet, says Kronos Research. Speaking to Cointelegraph, Vincent Liu, the chief investment officer at quantitative trading firm Kronos Research, said the whale sales are a structured cycle flow and steady profit rotation rather than panic, which can often indicate a late cycle phase. Rising realized gains and resilient liquidity can also be a sign of a late cycle. However, he said that the late cycle phase doesn't necessarily mean the market has stopped, as long as there are buyers to scoop up the new supply. And oh boy, are there buyers to scoop this up this time. We have institutions, even though the ETFs are also selling off somewhat, but they are ready to buy up any other liquidity that gets basically thrown into the market at cheap rates. There are also whales that aren't financial institutions per se. There are whales that are countries, for instance, like Singapore, that are buying up Bitcoin at this rate for their treasuries. So even though they haven't announced per se what they're doing, doesn't mean that they can't accumulate in the background pending approvals and regulations and announcements, etc. Okay. On-chain reading hints at a potential bottom. Bitcoin's net unrealized profit ratio at 0.476 signals short-term lows may be forming, offering strategic positioning, but it's just one of many indicators that need to be tracked to confirm a market bottom. So basically what they're saying is that, this is just a dip. This is perhaps the dip before the big one. We know that with XRP, the best is yet to come. And in fact, the best is imminent and getting closer. Not financial advice, do your own research. What I do, as I do always, is dollar cost average, hodl, and hope for the best. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.